I'm Jeremiah Murphy, and this is Mariculture Minute. This is actually a bonus episode. It includes my full conversation with Kathryn Carovano from Cachemak Kelp, and we talk about product development, marketing, how Kachemak Kelp hires their workforce, and all sorts of other stuff. I thought it was a real interesting conversation, and I wanted to include the totality of it. So here it is.
I was just wondering what would you say is the current market for Ketchup Kelp's products? Who's buying them?
Well, let me just first, we have two very different types of products.
Sure.
We sell primary processed kelp, which is dried kelp primarily, and we sell that to other food producers right now. Our biggest clients are Chugach Chocolate and Barnacle
Ooh.
Seafoods. So we sell it as an ingredient. And that was sort of initially where I think we thought most of our sales would be. But our work is supported by grants, and one of the grants was to really address processing and marketing bottlenecks. And we discovered there wasn't a huge demand for simply, dried kelp.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt like it was important to create some of our own products and really better understand what the challenges of marketing kelp from Alaska were by doing it. So we created some value-added products. We sell some condiments.
Okay.
The biggest seller is our Killer Kelp Crisp, which is a chili crisp. And another one that has sort of just recently taken off is a bath product, Selkie Soaks.
Yeah, you won an award for that. Is that correct?
We did. We just won a Beyond the Plate award from the Alaska Symphony of Seafoods.
That's great.
Which is exciting for us, yeah. And then the last sort of product line we're working on now is biostimulants, which are basically fermented kelp that produces a liquid that is used for farmers and gardeners as a plant stimulant. So we don't have that on the market yet, but probably within the next 6 months we will. So
cool. So for the bio,
and I would say our market for our products is primarily Alaskans and visitors. We're not really we're not really trying to have a big reach beyond Alaska at this point.
Yeah, that sounds like you're doing all sorts of exciting stuff with kelp.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think consumers like about these products?
I think, the food products, I think basically it's just a good product, but I think people are curious about seaweed and how it can be, it has a lot of health benefits. It's a little hard to get American consumers to eat seaweed, just in larger quantities.
Mm-hmm.
We also produce a salted kelp product. It's basically salt preserved kelp. So you get like a whole leaf product. You rinse it and use it as you would fresh seaweed.
Right.
And we're finding that that's mostly something that chefs, people who are, into really experimenting with their cooking, are interested in. At this point, we've really done a very, very small marketing campaign. This last year, we produced very small amounts. We distributed primarily to chefs and through one outlet, the Salmon Sisters shop in Homer.
Huh.
But it's still new to most Americans. A lot of people eat seaweed. They eat those little nori sheets that you get, that kids love. But
right.
Other than that, it's kind of getting people used to and thinking about how to integrate seaweed into their diet. So the food market is tough, and that's partly why we sort of looked at other ways to use kelp, because our goal is really to support the whole seaweed industry in Alaska.
Okay.
Starting with being able to, a lot of people get into seaweed farming, but it's a lot harder for them to find, once you harvest the seaweed, you don't have, somebody has to handle it, deal with it, process it, and find markets for it beyond just the farmer selling it to the processor. So that's kind of what we've been doing. And the food market, I would just say, is growing but constrained, and there are people trying to figure out sort of bigger quantities. It's like there's a guy on the East Coast who's making meatballs, or they're not meat, but they have seaweed in them, and
Yeah.
integrating them into products that use more seaweed than the condiments. But the bath product, the Selkie Soaks, that's our bath product.
Right.
It's essentially like a tea bag filled with um, dried seaweed and mineral salts and calendula flowers.
Okay.
And there's a whole history of what's called thalassotherapy,
Yeah. Yeah.
seaweed bathing, which goes back, centuries in Europe, and it's really I think most popular now in Ireland.
Huh.
So we thought, well, this is something we could do in a simplified form with the dried seaweed, and it's easier to produce. It uses more seaweed. It's kind of a novelty product. It's so yeah, we just continue to look for ways to engage consumers with seaweed, and food's not the only way. And then the biostimulant market, I think, has a lot of potential because it can absorb larger quantities of seaweed, raw seaweed, to make that product.
I've heard with that too, you don't have to worry about cleaning the seaweed too well, because all the extra stuff is just added nutrients. Is that correct?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be food grade.
Right.
I mean, for the food products, you really do have to have food grade seaweed. You have to, take care of it, and you have to operate in a certified space, and follow proper protocols for food handling, all of that. Whereas the biostimulants and even the bath products don't have such a high standard.
For the biostimulants, is that something you would sell directly, or would you send that to another party to kind of package and sell?
At this point, we're really exploring that.
I gotcha.
I think there's two ways we see it being sold. One is in, kind of small jugs that you would buy at local, garden feed type store.
Okay.
It would be for home gardeners, but then also in larger quantities to actual farmers, where they might come and buy a 50-gallon barrel or something. So it really depends on. We're really very much still exploring that market. This past year was the second year we researched that product line, and we had tests done on 2 farms, and just a nutrient analysis and a lot of stuff. So we're still gathering all the data before we launch that product.
Wow.
So it's still in the early stages.
It sounds pretty exciting. Do you have like a product development lab? I mean, what's that process like when you develop new products?
Yeah, so Kachemak Kelp is a label. It's a small LLC that we created to basically identify and market our products. But our group, our team, which is me and Evie Witten, who has her own small LLC called Regeneration North, we were awarded some grants that supported applied research, essentially, and we refer to the activities that we do under those grants as the Kachemak Kelp Innovation Hub. It's sort of not really an entity, but it's a collection of grants that support the work that we do, and that's how we've been able to develop our products.
Cool.
So some of that funding has come from the large award that was given to the state.
Is that the
under the Build Back Better initiative.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And some of it, we had an initial grant from NOAA.
Okay.
Under the Saltonstall Kennedy program. That's kind of what got us started on this processing marketing challenge. And so we set up our operation seasonally. We started in 2022. We set it up seasonally in Homer at the facility that's owned by the Salmon Sisters. It's a former processing plant.
Okay.
And hire a local team each season. That we have now got a lot of return folks, and our site manager, Lily Westfall, has sort of become an integral part of our team and is not quite year round, but she works with us on things beyond the sort of short season that we have, which is only really 2 months. April and May is when the seaweed is harvested, when it
Right.
comes into our plant, when we do at least all the primary stabilization during that time.
Wow. How many people would you say are employed by Kachemak Kelp?
Well, it's all seasonal.
It's all seasonal.
It's very much, and it actually works out really well because I think we had 6 people, maybe 7, working part-time this season. And it's April, May is right before the tourist season picks up.
Okay.
And being in Homer, all of the people, well, we have some people who work in the schools, so this works well for them
Okay.
as the school season is ending. And then we have a number of people, most of them work in the tourism industry, either water taxis, lodges, fish filleting, different
Right.
jobs that it works for them to have kind of these 2 months of extra, lead in, and it works for us because we don't have year-round work.
Right.
We have really very targeted.
So if somebody were interested in getting involved in kelp as either a kelp farmer or assisting or working for a company like Kachemak Kelp, what kind of advice would you give them? What direction would you point them in?
Well, kelp farming is a whole different thing,
Okay.
Which I don't have much experience
Okay.
with, though I do know the farmers that we work with quite well. I think, yeah, that's the permitting process is very, you have to find the site, you have to
Mhm.
get a permit, you have to, really know what you're getting into there. And I think there are farmers here who have invested quite a bit and they are still struggling to find buyers,
Mhm.
to find markets for their kelp. So just, I think, going in with eyes wide open that it's not that simple. I think seaweed is relatively easy to grow, though it is a farm product and people have problems with seed and, other things that it's not like it takes no work. It takes quite a bit of work.
Right.
But the markets are not that well developed. And I think one year, and I don't know how it was last year, but I think between 23 and 2024, the production of kelp in the state actually dropped
Right.
because people couldn't sell what they were growing. So our goal is really to be able to take all the kelp that can be grown in our region, and we're expanding, but we're not there yet. But that's our goal, and and I guess I would say to people who are interested in developing products that use kelp, I would say go for it.
Yeah.
There is plenty of kelp in the state. It is a challenging market, but I think there's a real receptiveness. People like the idea of a sustainably, regeneratively grown, and in our case, our kelp has been certified as organic.
Wow.
And our processing facility. So, there's a demand for those kind of ingredients from both, I think, the food industry and the skincare cosmetics industry and the farm and garden industry. So it's really, I think, I would encourage people who want to develop products with kelp to really think about what product, what target market they would want to, focus on. But I think that's where there's still a big missing piece. There's not enough people making things from kelp.
Do you think that'll change within the next 10 years? Do you think we're moving forward? Are you still there?
It's risky. It takes somebody's got to be excited about it and put the energy and time into it and know that there's a risk. I think a lot of people, I think there's an idea that you can create a food product and, you've got, I don't know, that it'll be successful. But I know the people who do that work, like Barnacle and other people who are really, have gone big on making kelp condiments and food products. It's really a lot of work, and I I know at least one company on the East Coast that has closed its doors. I've heard that it's not it's not simple,
Yeah.
and but I think that um, yeah, it's a great resource. It's a sustainable, regenerative resource that's good for the ocean, and it's the growth of seaweed farming. I think is I don't think there's a huge amount of barrier to that happening. I
Hmm.
think the production of seaweed is under what it could be
Right.
relatively easily. I think it can be scaled up relatively easily, but it's really there's still challenges with the primary processing, which is what we're doing also, and that is capacity for that is growing in the state.
Right.
But yeah, it's developing those products and those markets. That's where the energy. I think people are excited about seaweed. That would be where I think there's still a lot of room for growth.
When you talk to people who like are unfamiliar with Alaska or even seaweed, and you mention what you do, what kind of reactions do you get? Are people kind of excited about this work?
Yeah, yeah, very. Yeah, people think it's pretty cool. And Alaska has a certain cachet, the idea of a product and something that's coming from Alaska, and the lifestyle of the farmers, the people who are growing it. I think it's a good story. People, but yeah, when I just talk to family and friends and tell people what we're up to, they it is the feedback is really very positive.
I was just curious, how did you become involved with kelp?
My family has had a house in Kachemak Bay for the last 20 plus years, a summer house. So every year we go and just basically, once school's out, move down there, spend the summers. And it's a community of formerly a fishing community. It's transitioned to more of a fishing and tourism community. But there's also, it was one of the first areas in Alaska that had permitted shellfish farms.
Hmm.
And shellfish farmers find that seaweed grows abundantly on their gear, and it's kind of a problem, actually.
Right.
And just talking with neighbors, friends who were in that industry, they were the ones who raised the question of, gosh, this stuff, there should be a market for it. There's got to be a way we could.
Right.
And so that was what piqued my interest really and got me down the path of, yeah, there could be. And the biggest challenge, according to them at the time and still, was this primary processing and marketing.
Wow. How long would you say you've been
Yeah.
working with kelp one way or another?
Um, I I started really thinking about it in 2012, and then I kind of got distracted by a bunch of other things. And so the first time that the grant that we wrote and the first project that we started was in 2022.
Wow. Yeah. It's
So not that long,
it's
really.
such a new and
Yeah.
exciting industry in Alaska. It's fun to watch it. Watch the little thing, it grows like the industry is almost growing like seaweed itself, and in little spots here and there and along the
Yeah.
coast. Yeah.
And it's a fun industry to be a part of. It's very hopeful. It is new and it's collaborative, and it's a great group of people. I've loved being a part of just the collective of Alaskans who are engaged in this. I think everybody's trying to move in the same direction, and yeah, it's been really inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always wonder how much of the motivation, is some, wanting to change the world, fighting back against climate change versus, like a business
Hmm.
motivation, or is it all a mix with everybody I meet? And it seems to be an interesting mix.
Uh-huh. Oh, I would imagine. I think for us, for Evie and I who started this, it was very much trying to figure out a way to, have a positive contribution towards both the coastal communities that we're a part of, to that economy as it changes due to climate change, and also something that we knew would be a positive environmentally as opposed to a negative.
Well, I really appreciate your taking the time to talk to me. I just have three quick questions.
Okay.
I want to make sure I pronounce Kachemak correctly. Am I saying it right?
Yep, Kachemak. It's from
Kachemak.
Kachemak Bay.
And
Hmm.
then I have two questions I always ask people. Do you have a
Uh-huh.
favorite vocabulary word associated with kelp?
I think the one that popped to my mind first was regenerative, which isn't
Regenerative.
a very sexy word, but it is. Yeah,
And then my second question is, do you know any kelp jokes?
I don't.
That is the common answer.
Somebody's got to work on that.
Ooh, a challenge. Let's see. Why did the bull kelp cross the road to get to the other stipe? Yeah, I got to work on it. This is Mariculture Minute. I'm Jeremiah Murphy. Mariculture Minute is made possible by Alaska Sea Grant, support from University of Alaska Southeast Sitka campus, Professor Angela Bowers, Aldo Griffo-Hahn, Sarah Ebersol, and usually Walden Murphy, but we did not include her music in this episode, but something to look forward to in other episodes. Thank you. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, Instagram, at Kelp Show, and just on the regular old internet at kelpshow.com. Thanks, and enjoy your seaweed.